Did you know that Lamborghini, the well-known high-end Italian luxury car brand, first began by manufacturing and selling tractors? Perhaps an even more surprising reality is that a prisoner of war from World War II founded this multi-billion-dollar corporation. Yes, that's right. Ferruccio Lamborghini, the mechanical genius and founder of Lamborghini, was taken as a prisoner by the Allied forces at the end of World War II, where he served as a mechanic tending to British Army vehicles. Ferruccio Lamborghini was a gifted man who excelled in many fields throughout his life. He was an automobile designer, inventor, mechanic, engineer, winemaker, industrialist, and businessman. His most renowned enterprise, one which made him world famous, was the establishment of his company, Automobili Lamborghini, in 1963. The brand today is the go-to brand for celebrities and royals all over the world looking to purchase the most exquisite and expensive vehicles. If you own a Lamborghini, you can proudly declare that you've made it. It's a prestige symbol, and numerous celebrities flaunt their favorite Lamborghini from time to time, including Chris Brown, Kanye West, Justin Bieber, Jay Leno, 50 Cent, Kim Kardashian, and many others. As for the royals, the car is a favorite among many Saudi princes, who not only own the incredibly expensive car, but also customize it with gold and precious gemstones. In today's video, we'll introduce you to the man who founded the prestigious automobile company and whose journey was filled with many obstacles that eventually led to the rise of his iconic vehicle brand, Lamborghini, the manufacturer of the world's first ever supercar, called the Lamborghini Miura. Ferruccio Lamborghini. Ferruccio Lamborghini was born in Renazzo, Ferrara province on April 28, 1916. He was the eldest of 5 sons who grew up on the family farm, where his father harvested grapes and produced wine for a living. When Ferruccio was a young boy, his father began instilling in him a love of agriculture and farming in the hopes that one day his son would take over the family business. But much to his father's despair, the future engineer constantly found himself drawn more towards farming machinery than the farming lifestyle itself. And Ferruccio had a radically different vision for his future. One that involved engines, cars, and machines. Engines particularly intrigued Ferruccio from an early age, and this fascination blossomed into a passion as he grew older. He spent most of his afternoons in the farmstead workshop where he experimented with farming equipment. Soon after finishing his primary education, he enrolled in the Fratelli Taddea Technical Institute outside Bologna to study mechanics. Despite his father's objections, who intended for Ferruccio to take up farming, the adamant and strong-willed Ferruccio followed his heart and decided to start his training at a local master's blacksmith workshop, where he learned the arts of ironworking and welding. This was an important learning period for the young Ferruccio, and the lessons he would learn here would help him abundantly in the future years. Given his experience and love for machines, he was very confident in his abilities and applied for a job with Cavaliere Righi, the owner of one of Bologna's most famous workshops. He was certain that he would land any job at any firm, but his experience proved insufficient and he was rejected. Regardless, the young entrepreneur refused to take no for an answer and persisted until the owner allowed him to join, showcasing his never-give-up attitude. When World War II broke out, things drastically changed for the young entrepreneur. By the time Ferruccio was already an accomplished and well-known technician, he was ripped from his professional life and eventually drafted into the Italian Royal Air Force and assigned to the 50th Mixed Maneuver Motor Fleet, which was based in Rhodes. He was in charge of all maintenance and repairs on the island for the Italian Army's military vehicles, including tractors and diesel trucks that were used to tow aeroplanes. While serving in the army, he learned how to use repurposed components to repair broken-down automobiles, motorcycles, and trucks, and soon rose to prominence as an expert in mechanical improvisation and engine repair. A more grim period made its way into Ferruccio's life when Italy surrendered, leading to the German forces taking over and evicting the Italians. At the end of the war in 1945, the island of Rhodes fell to the British and Ferruccio was held as a prisoner of war. His talents even as a prisoner did not go unnoticed, and after discovering his engineering background, the British hired him to repair their vehicles. After a year of serving the British, he was finally allowed to return home. Post-war Lamborghini. 1946 marked the end of the manufacturing magnate's time as a prisoner of war, and he returned to Italy not alone but with Clelia, an Italian girl from Ferrara who he had madly fallen in love with. At the time in Italy, incentives were being offered to revive the country's dying economy. Taking advantage of the available opportunity and using the incentives he received, Ferruccio established a machine shop in Cento that repaired automobiles and made small utility vehicles. He did this for a while until the day came when his father asked the engineering genius to build him a tractor to run his farm more efficiently. This marked the turning point in Ferruccio's life, as he not only created a tractor for his father but also recognized Italy's desperate need to improve agricultural equipment to recover from the war. And like he always did, he seized the opportunity and began to build tractors from scratch, using scrap military equipment that he found lying around. By 1949, Ferruccio was able to build tractors from the ground up, without using any leftovers. The Lamborghini Trattori factory was established and production quickly expanded. The tractors that he built used a British Morris engine that ran on cheap diesel, making it less expensive and more inventive than any other tractor at the time, and so even small landowners could afford his machines. Ferruccio started his business in a small garage, but soon enough, given the company's success, relocated to a larger premise. Then came a time in Ferruccio's life when, despite his strong tractor sales, he required additional capital for manufacture as demand for his tractors skyrocketed. And the parent who was initially opposed to his son choosing a career other than farming came to his aid. He took a significant risk by using his beloved farm as security for a loan to support his son's business. But it did pay off eventually, as after years of hard work and perseverance, the company expanded to become one of Italy's top manufacturers. Clash of the Titans: Ferrari vs Lamborghini. As one of the largest agricultural equipment manufacturers in Italy, Ferruccio Lamborghini could now afford dozens of luxury cars such as Jaguars, Maseratis, and Mercedes-Benz. He also owns several Ferraris, and this is where the brand Lamborghini's success story began, with it evolving into one of the world's most successful luxury automobile manufacturers. Ferruccio admired his Ferrari car collection, but he found several faults with the sports car. One Ferrari he possessed was a 250 GT, which had a notoriously bad clutch. When the clutch of his car broke, which it did quite often, Ferruccio chose to have his head mechanic replace it. On examining the engine and transmission, he discovered that the clutch installed was identical to that found on a Lamborghini tractor. This irritated Ferruccio because while he paid much less for a tractor's clutch, Ferrari demanded a hefty price for the replacement of the same component. So as a proficient and passionate car engineer, he took it upon himself and set out to enlighten Enzo Ferrari, the founder of the company, with many ideas in his head, such as design alterations that could aid Ferrari to enhance his exquisite sports cars. The brand Ferrari at the time was one of the few firms that produced the best sports car in the world, with the company having a strong brand name. As a result, Enzo Ferrari was not amused by Ferruccio's statements and made it clear to him that the fault was not with his premium car, but with the person who drove it. This criticism enraged Ferruccio, and he vowed to build a sports car that would be far superior to Enzo Ferrari's. Journeying into sports cars. Ferruccio had a vision for the perfect sports car, but first, he needed a logo befitting for a high-end sports automotive firm, so he commissioned renowned graphic artist Paolo Rambaldi to design one for him. Rambaldi's design for Lamborghini was inspired by Ferruccio. When asked about his personality, Ferruccio equated himself to a bull, giving birth to the ever-iconic Lamborghini Raging Bull logo. Automobili Ferruccio Lamborghini was formally established on October 30th, 1963. Ferruccio was a clever entrepreneur and hired 3 of Ferrari's ex-employees who had prior experience designing sports cars and purchased land at Via Modena 12 in the township of Sant'Agata Bolognese in order to produce his automobiles. Franco Scaglione, an amazing designer, constructed the first prototype of the car Lamborghini 350 GTV in Turin in just 4 months to be displayed at a Turin Motor Show in October 1963. And just 9 months later, the first official model of the 350 GT was unveiled at the 1964 Geneva Motor Show. The impressive car was ahead of its time, with a V12 engine, 5-speed transmission, 4-disc brakes, and 4-wheel suspension. A better redesigned model of the same car was unveiled later and received overwhelmingly positive reviews. The car was an instant hit and had significantly outperformed Ferrari cars. The car drew a large number of sports car enthusiasts, and Ferruccio thus established the groundwork for Lamborghini's success. Over the next few years, his tractor and automobile sales continued to skyrocket. Ferruccio's legendary Lambos. Lamborghini introduced the world to some of the most legendary automobiles, such as the 1966 Lamborghini Miura, which was classified as a supercar by the journalist who got to test drive it, the 1971 Lamborghini Countach, another memorable automobile that was so groundbreaking that it remained relevant for 17 years after it initially went into production and became one of the most discussed vehicles in history. Additionally deserving of mention are their other fabulous vehicles such as the Espada, Islero, Jarama, and Duraco. The unfortunate Grey Days. Ferruccio Lamborghini's company began to experience financial troubles by the early 1970s, bringing its years of success to an abrupt halt due to forces beyond his control. One example was a last-minute cancellation of a contract to provide Bolivia with 5,000 tractors. Due to the loss, Ferruccio was forced to sell his tractor company as well as 51% of his Automobili Lamborghini shares to Georges Henri Rossetti, a wealthy Swiss businessman. He continued to work at the Sant'Agata factory even though he was no longer in charge of the business. The storm had not ended yet for Ferruccio, as when the world stock market crashed and an oil embargo was imposed, it raised fuel prices and threw the auto sector into disarray. He worked hard to keep his company running and found customers for his unsold tractors, but unfortunately, with several roadblocks ahead, he chose to retire early in 1974 and sold the remaining 49% of his ownership, effectively ending all ties to vehicles bearing his name. Ferruccio Lamborghini passed away on February 20, 1993 at the age of 76 in Perugia, Italy of heart and respiratory issues. Although it's been years since Ferruccio was with the organization he founded, his passion and principles continue to be the backbone of what the Lamborghini brand is today. The company has always believed in re-innovating its products with the mindset that even the best can be enhanced and that new routes can be explored.